human life originated from menstrual blood. This theory of human life originating from menstrual blood remained popular with the scientists until the discovery of first microscope in late 16th century. In 13th century, a Muslim scientist named Ibn Hazar disagreed with the established scientific view, quoting the Quranic verse, "Was he not a drop of germinal fluid emitted?" But Ibn Hazar lacked the scientific instrumentation to provide the experimental proof. So the theory remained unchallenged. After the discovery of first microscope, physicians throughout the 17th century started believing that human life originated from male sperm. They further believed that a fully created miniature human being existed within the male sperm. Then after the discovery of ovum in 18th century, all the scientists changed their view and started believing that human life originated from female ovum because ovum was larger than the male sperm. They further believed a fully created miniature human being existed within the female ovum. It was not until the middle of 19th century when the microscope became quite powerful, scientists started discovering that the whole embryological development phase took place in several successive stages. And scientists are even till today, confronting serious difficulties in classifying those stages and in choosing appropriate terms to describe adequately the internal and external features of each of these stages because of the continuous transformation undergone by the human embryo. So the scientists chose a numerical system such as stage 1, stage 2, stage 3, and so on, which could only indicate the developmental sequence, but could not give any description. But the Qur'an 14 centuries ago not only said that the whole embryological development phase took place in several successive stages, but the Qur'an gave names to each of these stages which comprehensively describes the internal and external features of all of these stages. In other words, the Qur'an not only describes the external forms of the fetus, but also internal stages inside the human embryo of its creation and development and of the major events recognized by contemporary science. The Qur'an says, and I am translating, "He makes you in the wombs of your mothers in stages, one after another in 3 veils of darkness." Today, with the help of advanced electronic images, scientists as well as viewers are actually able to see that the baby or the embryo does indeed develop in the mother's womb, protected by 3 layers, just as the Qur'an says. These are anterior abdominal wall, the uterine wall, and the amniochorionic membrane. Who gave Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam this sort of details 14 centuries ago? Could it be anybody other than Almighty Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? In fact, the first microscope of late 16th century could not even magnify more than 10 times. The Qur'an says, Allah says, roughly translated, "And we created man from a quintessence of clay. Then we placed him as a nutfa, a drop, in a place of settlement firmly fixed. Then we made the nutfa into alaqa, leash-like structure. Then we changed the alaqa into mudgha, chewed-like substance. Then out of that mudgha, we created izam, or skeletons, or bones. Then we clothed the bones with intact flesh, al-kissa bil-laham. Then we caused him to grow and come into being and attain definitive human form. So blessed be Allah, the best to create." Today, scientists as well as viewers are actually able to see for themselves, with the help of electronic images, that the human prenatal development phase does indeed pass through all these stages of nutfa, alaqa, mudgha, izam, al-qissa bil-laham, and nasha that the Qur'an mentions. I start with the nutfa stage. Nutfa means drop. It refers to the male and female fluid. The Qur'an says, "Let man think from what he is created. He is created from a drop emitted." This is within the nutfa stage, there are several sub-stages within nutfa. The first Such sub-stage is what the Qur'an called al-ma'in dafiq, the gushing fluid or drop emitted. The Qur'an says, let man think from what he is created. He is created from a drop emitted. The grammatical form of the Quranic statement suggests that the drop is motile or active. Advanced electronic images now reveal that the sperm has to be motile or active in order for fertilization to take place. It has been proven as well that the female ovum, that the female fluid which contains the ovum is expelled to the fallopian tube and has to be moving in order for fertilization to take place. This sort of knowledge requires very powerful advanced microscope which can magnify the sperm 450 times and the sperm 100 times, because the diameter of the nutfa or the drop is still less than 0.1 mm. Quran says the next stage is sulala. Sulala means extract. It also means long fish. Advanced electronic images now reveal that the sperm itself is an extract of the male fluid and does indeed look like long fish. It has been further revealed through these electronic images that during the fertilization process, the male fluid migrates from the vagina and strives to meet the ovum in the fallopian tube, and only a tiny volume of the male fluid reaches the fallopian tube. And this is what Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam told us 14 centuries ago. Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam told us, not from all the fluids is an offspring created. Thus the Islamic position is fertilization does not take place from all the fluids, but from a minute portion of it. It has been further proven through electronic images that as soon as the first sperm touches the cell membrane of the ovum, a rapid change occurs in the cell membrane and it locks out all other sperms. This sort of selection process during the nutfa stage is known as sulala, because one sperm and one ovum have now been selected to combine and initiate human development. The Qur'an says next stage is nutfa amshaj. Nutfa means drop, amshaj means mixture. So it's a drop of mixture, it's a drop of mingled fluid. Advanced electronic images now reveal that as soon as the ovum is fertilized by the sperm, they together form a new drop, a drop of mingled fluid, just as the Qur'an says. Nutfa is singular noun, whereas amshaj is plural adjective. From ordinary grammar will not permit singular noun to be modified by plural adjective. But from scientific point of view, it is totally accurate, as it is a single entity that contains multiple genetic mixtures that contain the characteristics of the ancestors, of the offspring, and of the fetus itself. Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam was once asked by a Jew, "O Jew, what is a man created from?" Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam replied, "O Jew, he is created from both nutfa of a man and nutfa of a woman." Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam mentioned about this zygote 14 centuries ago. Zygote itself has several sub-stages within it. I'm not going into the detail, but just want to mention that they are the khalq or creation stage, the taqdeer phase or the genetic programming, the sexual determination phase, and the birth or implantation phase. During the taqdeer phase, future dominant characteristics of the baby are determined. In other words, what characteristics it will inherit from the parents, what it will pass on to the future springs, are determined at this stage. Science calls it genetic programming. The Qur'an calls it taqdeer.